and welcome back to Pop Culture Yearbook. On this show, we pick pieces of pop culture that were important to us in a given year. We then discuss memories and dig into those movies, albums, shows, and more. This is 1989 Part 3. I'm Brad.
I'm Pete.
I'm Giff.
And tonight we are discussing Giff's choice, which is Roadhouse.
Oh, man.
I never saw before, so thank you, Giff.
You are very welcome.
Why don't you tell us why you picked this movie, and we'll go from there.
Well, I picked this movie because I think it encompasses a lot of the great things that happen in 80s movies. So just to...
It sure does.
Just
it had
to
a lot
name...
of depth for you, Gifford?
What's that?
I said it had a lot of depth.
Yes, a lot of depth, absolutely. Obviously, it's not a great movie. It was nominated for 5 Raspberry Awards, Golden Raspberries.
Really?
Yeah, it was nominated for Best Worst Picture, Worst Actor, Worst Supporting Actor, Worst Director, and Worst Screenplay. It did not, however, win any of those awards.
Who was the worst supporting actor? Was it the villain guy or who?
I didn't write down who, but I'm guessing, yeah, it was the Brad Wesley.
It wasn't Sam Elliott, was it?
No, and Sam Elliott was amazing in this movie.
He got off crystal clear from this. That's good.
Yes, I would hope so. I would hope. But as I was saying, it encompasses so many great things of 80s movies. It's all about excess in the 80s. You've got there's good music in it, of course. Jeff Healey Band is the house band at the Double Deuce, playing a lot of great covers.
Can I just say then, since I hadn't seen this movie before, so I'm watching this movie, and there's the part with the singer, and he's blind. Or at least I didn't even realize he was blind at first. I couldn't really tell because it didn't seem like, I don't know. Then I'm like, wait a minute. He actually is blind, huh?
He is.
And then I didn't even know until the credits come on. It's Jeff Healey. It's like, okay, well that, I guess, there you go. That's an 80s movie with an 80s guy. And I totally missed out that he was that was a real thing. So,
well, they spared no expense in top talent for this movie. It did have a budget of $15 million and cleared just over $30 million at the box office, so it was a financial success in those terms. But getting back to one of the hallmarks of great 80s movies are the kill scenes. So this movie, of course, we have 2 major kill scenes. One where Jimmy dies and one where Brad Wesley dies. And it harkens back to other great kill scenes from 80s movies. Hans Gruber and the Joker. They didn't fall from a building. They fell from the tallest building in the city. Yes. So over-the-top kill scenes. You had Joshua from the first Lethal Weapon movie played by... who played him?
Oh, just to speak of what you just said, I was going to say one of my notes about that last kill scene, as you put it, I said, wow, Brad can really take a bullet. 4 shotguns. And he just keeps on going.
Right, exactly.
Just like he's getting hit by BBs.
One would saw a man in half. But Brad Wesley, he needs to take, obviously, 4. Other great kill scenes, like I was saying, in Lethal Weapon, Joshua gets his butt kicked by Riggs, and that's not enough. As he goes for a cop's gun, he gets shot not once but twice, which is absolutely wonderful. In the second Lethal Weapon movie, Peter, the bad guy, he gets a shipping container dropped on him for the kill scene. So obviously there's RoboCop, where not only does the guy get shot a million times, but falls out of a very tall building. Cobra, the movie Cobra, the Night Stalker gets a large meat hook to his back in a meat packing plant. So it all feeds in to these great kill scenes in Roadhouse, where Jimmy, a great fight scene, he gets his throat torn out by Dalton's bare hand. And then, as you alluded to, What's that?
I just said that will hurry.
It will.
What I was going to say, because they talked about that through the whole movie, right? And I just wrote down, so apparently you can just pull out guys' throats, huh? And I was like, why doesn't that happen more often then?
I've never tried it.
Should that be a thing?
I'm going to try it now.
What I liked about that scene was after he tore his throat out and he gives him the spinning kick to the back and he falls into the river, he actually makes a sound when he gets hit. But he wouldn't have a windpipe, or his windpipe's been severed. So there's no sound coming out.
I don't want you to forget the best kill scene of the 80s that you just made me think of, falling off of buildings.
Yes.
El Guapo shooting the guy on the roof in Three Amigos.
Yes.
Hold up your hat.
Right.
Fire!
Right. Absolutely.
That's a classic.
Well, and of course, there's a wonderful gratuitous nudity in this movie, which is a hallmark of great 80s movies, harkening back to Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Everybody remembers Phoebe Cates exiting the pool. Also, what I love, a movie that showed how you need to have gratuitous nudity in a movie was Tango and Cash. I don't know if you guys remember in Tango and Cash.
That movie.
Early in the movie,
though, I think.
Yes, it is. Early in that movie, there's a car chase scene through a parking lot, and so the cars are going around and they're banging into each other. And there's one where they hit a bunch of cars, and these two people pop up in the back seat. They're doing it in the back seat, and of course, the woman's topless. It's like a half a second, but they have to put it in there. So another great thing about the 80s movies. And then, of course, to show excess of excess is to have a monster truck in your movie.
Oh, yeah.
They had Bigfoot number 7 was built for this movie. The scene in which they drive through the car lot cost $500,000. So that was the big spender in this movie. So it's just big on top of big. Obviously, you got Dalton
speaking of what you just said, too, so, I mean, you're just bringing up a lot of the notes I had. They go as I watched it, but I noticed throughout the movie, there's a lot of knives. And every time you see a knife, they get bigger and bigger.
Yep.
Right. Here's Leighton. We got a big knife now.
Right. At one point, there's just a little one on a boot.
Yeah.
And then in the end of the movie, obviously, there's one that, kills a couple people.
It really fits your theme. You were on top of this.
Absolutely. Well, yes, and that's why I picked it, because it shows the excesses of the 80s and what makes great action movies from the 80s. So I've got plenty more notes.
This was before the days of CGI, so to make a really big splash, they didn't have the special effects that they can do like today, and so that's what they had to do. They just had to go big with what they could. And so maybe that's part of it. And you're right, it's the 80s excess, and it was I thoroughly enjoyed every minute of it.
I mean, Brad Wesley has a fully mounted giraffe in his trophy room, for crying out loud.
I enjoyed it. I mean, it's entertaining, but so one of the things that I wrote early on was that I think it was no, it was before that. But I basically just wrote, I want to know if this movie understands how bad it is. Because if it does, and it's intentionally campy, then that can be done well, and I can roll with that. That's great, because I love that kind of stuff. But then I was keeping an eye on that throughout the movie to see, does it do that? And then we get to the karate scene, and I'm like, oh no, this is not going the right direction here.
No.
And by the end, I was like, too much, this is not aware of what it is, and that's unfortunate, because they missed out on something there.
I don't think they missed out on much in this movie.
Well, I mean, they hit their mark, I think, for what they wanted. I kind of look at it like the way you described it, because it's 89. It's kind of like hair metal. This is kind of like the last gasp of this kind of movie before Nirvana comes in and just shuts them out, and movies get a little bit better and a little bit more serious, and you don't see a lot of this 80s excess anymore after this is one of those last ones.
Yes.
What movie would you consider to be the Nirvana of movies then?
I don't know. I know Goodfellas came out the next year, though, and you talk about a great movie. I mean, it's a different kind of movie, but that's a great one.
Yes.
Well, Pulp Fiction, how about that? I mean, that's or Reservoir Dogs. Quentin Tarantino, maybe he kind of changed
That could be
the game. Yeah. There you go.
Yep.
This could have been a Tarantino type movie.
Or even True Romance, which is one that he didn't direct, but he wrote, which is maybe my favorite of all of his movies that he's been with. That was from like 92. So like he came around shortly after this. There you go. He's Nirvana.
What if Tarantino?
This is Poison.
What if they redid Roadhouse with Tarantino as the director? Oh my God!
Well, I think they have. I mean, he's done some really like B type movies, but he knows what he's doing. I haven't watched like those. What are they called?
Yeah.
He did like
Grindhouse. Right, yeah. And
I haven't seen those, but to me, they sound like they'd be this if it was by him and updated to.
I actually just watched Death Proof about a week ago.
Well, if we are giving credit to Tarantino, we have to give credit to the director of Roadhouse, who is Rowdy Harrington.
Oh, Rowdy.
That's his name. Did you catch that on the intro? I thought that was perfect, that his name is Rowdy. And that was, it kind of led me to believe, Brad, that you were, that he knew what he was doing. He knew what he was making. If his name is Rowdy, it fits perfectly.
I don't think so.
Right.
He knew what he was making in that he knew that he wanted to make an 80s excess movie and didn't realize that it's, really bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, if you look at some of his other films.
Yeah, what else is he known for?
He did Striking Distance in 93 with Bruce Willis, which obviously everybody has Striking Distance as one of Bruce's top movies. Gladiator in 92.
Oh, so not Russell Crowe.
No.
All right.
He had Bobby Jones' Stroke of Genius in 2004. If you're looking for a good golf movie,
that does not fit the theme here.
No, it does not. I don't think there was golfing in this movie. Not that I'm aware of.
Well, so I don't know. Another one of my first observations, speaking of 80s, is just holy toxic masculinity. I mean, this is just, is everything I can't stand about. Oh my God, it's too much.
That's what makes it so good.
There's this enormous fight scene at the beginning, and I know Pete's watched. I don't know if you watched Cobra Kai. GIF, but season 2 ends with this, epic fight scene, and I was like, wow, this one puts Cobra Kai to shame, even, which you didn't even think was possible.
Right.
Cool. Yes.
So, okay, I have a question.
Yep.
And I kind of looked it up, but so it's like, and I there's parts that I might have not paid as much attention to. So why did he leave to go work at this place?
Because he got recruited. They've got like scouting. They've got like scouts that go find the best bouncers around the country.
Oh my God! Right. Okay.
So here's the thing: in that movie,
but why would he just automatically go do it though? I mean, that doesn't mean he has to go.
Money, because he's getting $500 a night in 1989, which equates to $1,055 in today's money.
So it was a big race.
You did your research, Gifford.
Yes.
See, and I knew he'd have the answers. This is his movie.
But that was the thing. He worked at this other place. Where was it? Like in LA or New York or something. And then this guy that owns the Double Deuce comes and like recruits him with all this money. And then that's where Swayze says, or he wants to fly him in right away. And Swayze's all like, I don't fly. It's too dangerous.
Right. All these dumb lines that they have in here, or like the infamous one is "Pain don't hurt."
Yes,
flying's too dangerous.
Okay, speaking of the guy who recruits him.
Yeah.
What's his deal? He just always walks around with this like creepy look on his face, like he's setting people up for something, like he's gonna I don't even know, like he's just like a guy that has a van, like he's gonna molest you or so. He's just he constantly has this look on his face, yet unless I missed something, he's just a normal guy that runs the place. Nothing ever happens with him. He doesn't do anything. He's just like weird.
I mean,
yeah,
the one that's a lot of money.
There's a lot of odd people in this show. I mean, everybody is a little off. I mean, Brad Wesley as the bad guy.
Terrible.
I mean, he's just such a little prick. Not menacing at all. There's the one scene where he punches the guy to make him look like he's tough, but he's not. He's just this little piddly thing.
I really enjoyed his big speech with the theme "Be Nice."
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Which then I wrote down, this theme is not really developed in the rest of the movie. You felt like that would be something that fits his character. It was just the weirdest speech. It had nothing to do with really the way.
I completely disagree with you on this, because later in, I think that's the first night that he's in.
Yeah, it's right away, because he like kicks somebody out and fires him because he's a jerk, and he's got to set his stake in there.
Remember when the woman gets on the table to dance, and he like tells one of his bouncers to go over and get her off the table, and like the guy pushes one of his bouncers, and he looks at Dalton to get the cue, and Dalton's like, like, be chill, be nice,
Well, I agree that they did at least one time, maybe shortly after it, do that, but that is not a theme of the movie, to be nice to people.
Well, sure, when the other guys come in to start that big fight. And,
I think he could have done a different speech.
I'm glad you brought that speech up, though, because one thing I found when I was researching this is that video clip is used by, in real life, it's used by the NYPD as part of their training. They put it, like they incorporate it into their training videos, because that's
Where
like
did you hear this?
I found it on the internet. It was one thing I found it under like fun facts about the movie. And, to break up the boredom, they make these fun videos that people will, that they watch, and they show that to the NYPD.
That's funny. Well, the other thing I like from that speech is, first off, Steve. Who doesn't love Steve?
Which one is Steve?
Steve's the guy who got fired for having sex with the girl in the back room.
Okay.
But when Steve goes, "What if they call my mother a whore?" And Dalton says, "Is she?"
Yeah, that was good. There's some funny lines in there for sure.
Well, and how about the Double Deuce before it gets its makeover, and the owner's walking around, and I mean, this place is just a pile. It's just awful. And his quick fix is when he sees on the side of the wall for a great fuck call, and he takes his pen out and changes it to Buick. There, we fixed it. Everything's fine.
Yep, that's it.
Oh my god.
Have you seen License to Drive?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's Corey's in it. Corey Feldman and Corey Haim, and Heather Graham's first movie.
Okay.
I thought you would have seen it. Pete, you do know it?
Oh yeah.
Oh good. I just actually watched it the other day because I was listening to a podcast about it, and I'm like, I got to watch this again because I watched it so much as a kid, and it was another dumb movie, but it has a lot of nostalgia. But the dad in it, so the parents in it are actually like good actors. Carol Kane is the mom, and the dad, I don't know his name, but I swore the bearded dude who owns the farm that he bunks up with was the dad from License to Drive. Like under the beard, it looks exactly like him, but I looked it up and it's not. So, yeah.
You mean Uncle Jesse?
Huh?
He looks like Uncle Jesse.
I thought he was like this actor that I recognize. He's like a good actor. I mean, he's been in a few things. He's a guy you like.
Sure.
But it wasn't him. I loved it when crap. What's her name? The doctor, the main girl. What's her name?
Oh, they just have her as Doc on IMDb.
Kelly Lynch. I meant the real name.
Yeah.
I loved it when we first meet her, and she's a doctor, and she has glasses on. I'm like, oh, well, she must be smart. Look at her glasses.
I like her. She seems smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this whole scene was just so like, look at her. She's a smart person.
Well, and we find out that Dalton has
that's my next line.
Philosophy degree from NYU.
Which then I thought, okay, well, that's interesting. That's going to play into his be nice and hit the whole way he kind of runs things. Nope, that's not developed at all either.
Well, he's doing his Tai Chi.
He could have done something with that.
He's doing his Tai Chi out on the riverbank. Yeah. He's centering himself. He does.
There's a legit character in there, but they just did not develop any of that stuff. So too bad. They went for the cheap thrills.
They certainly did.
Annette Bening was the one that was originally cast to play that role, the Kelly Lynch role. However, they started filming it, and Swayze just didn't feel any chemistry with her at all, so it didn't work, and so she got fired, and they had to find somebody else, and they got Kelly Lynch.
Oh, and Kelly Lynch just, oof, man. She's a fine-looking young lady.
I don't even find her attractive. Like, her role there doesn't even, like, do what it's supposed to do for me. Not interested.
What's it supposed to do, Brad? Let's dive into this.
I'm supposed to be attracted to her, and I'm not.
You're not supposed to be. You're just supposed to be happy for Swayze that he fell in love.
I'm happy. Right? I'm looking for love. Yeah, they got it.
So speaking of looking for love, the scene in which they consummate their relationship, they have Otis Redding's "These Arms of Mine" playing, and that is the same song that played in Dirty Dancing when Swayze and Baby hooked up for the first time.
Really?
Yep. So I think that's one of Swayze's favorite smooching songs.
Well, speaking of where they hooked up, I wrote, this is a really nice room for the top of a barn that he just found out. And I mean, that is like a furnished, really cool place to live up there.
For $100 per month.
There's no TV. There's no conditioned air, as Emmett put it, and you have the smells of nature.
Well, it's quite a nice looking place. Aside from that,
nice. They should make that into a Airbnb. That would be very nice.
I'm sure Emmett's got it listed by now.
Pete, that's a great idea. That would be a perfect Airbnb right there.
He's probably still living. $100 a month, though, is what he's paying. Is what the. What did you convert that one, Gifford? How much is $100 in today's?
Well, divide whatever it was by 5, because 500.
$215 a night.
That's still steal.
Well, and where was the bathroom? I don't know if there was a bathroom.
If he's making
just go over the edge of the outside of the window, because you have that nice big window and roof.
Right.
He's making $500 a night, and he's only paying $100
a month.
A month. He's pulling down some good coin.
Well, I guess the downfall is you have to overlook Brad Wesley's place right there. So
yes, and he can stare. He can stare at you.
The thing you're not taking into account, Pete, is how many tires Dalton has to buy, and how many windshields he has to keep buying because his car
has extra cars because he has his crappy car that nobody beats up, and then he has his nice car that he hides for the rest of the time. So.
Yeah, but his crappy car got beat up. That's why he had all the extra tires in his trunk.
Right. Well, that's why he has that car instead of the Mercedes that he drove to this place when he left his first job.
Right. And that he crashes in the end scene.
Oh,
to distract all the guys. Get them off the trail.
Speaking of Brad Wesley,
yes,
it is a fascinating character. He's not intimidating, like you said, and so I get he's got the cops in his pocket. Okay, you're supposed to buy that. But even with that, do you think it's believable that he can just blow up buildings, drive monster trucks through car dealerships, and murder people unscathed?
Brad, you can do that kind of thing when you get a JCPenney in town. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
He literally is above the law and can kill and do anything. It just seemed a little too much.
I mean, Christ, JCPenney is coming here because of me. I mean, that's his line.
Yeah.
I see, and you guys have talked about. I totally missed out on that line. That's too bad because that sounds like a good one.
It's when Swayze goes and has that conversation within that, in the kitchen. He offers him breakfast, and then they sit down and have that conversation. And then he points out that he got the JCPenney in town. That's a big deal. Like they had to actually point out that it's a big deal. Otherwise, nobody would believe that it was a big deal or think about it that way.
So I want to get to the third act here at some point because that's where stuff. But right before that, like a little over an hour through, I'm like, this is just like watching an hour plus Whitesnake video on steroids.
Yeah,
I mean, just take a Whitesnake video and put some dialogue and extend it. This is the movie.
Well done.
And add the nudity that you can't maybe have in the music video, but you know that they want.
You know what I had written down is that if you watch the dancing in the Double Deuce, watch it closely, and it looks exactly like the Charlie Brown Christmas special dance.
So the other thing I loved about the dancing and the scenes in the Double Deuce, do you notice how when the bar fights break out, the band just keeps playing?
Yeah, that's the band's job. It's like the Titanic, man.
Well, I'm wondering if that's why the guy's blind, because then he just keeps right on it going.
Yeah. That's why they paid Jeff Healey all that money. You play music.
Well, and then they got like the chicken wire in front of the stage, and like that's gonna keep like he's getting just plastered with beer all the time. Like it's just, oh God, it's such a horrible place. But Brad, talking about the cops, there's no cops anywhere. Like you say, when Red Store blows up
somewhere, wasn't there?
At the very end. At the very end, but like even Jimmy gets killed. There's no investigation into him getting his throat ripped out. I mean, we don't know yet whether or not
do what he wants.
Right. Well, we don't know yet whether or not Dalton's buddy getting knifed, if that's going to be investigated. And then at the end, after everything's over, the cops finally show up. Everybody just shrugs and goes, "I didn't see anything."
Oh, I love that ending, though. Did you see anything? I didn't see anything. How about you? Did you see anything?
And then Tinker gets up and just goes, "A polar bear fell on me." And just all kind of
giggle. God. Well, see, now we're getting ahead of. We got to unpack and go through that third act from the beginning.
I think they're trying to convince the police that it was a suicide.
Right. He shot himself 4 times in the chest with a shotgun that's nowhere around. It's left the roof at this point because they were carried out by one of the guys.
So it was shortly after the Whitesnake comment where I wrote down, "It's official. This movie thinks it should be serious, unfortunately." But then in all caps I got, "And what a third act." So you can pinpoint the movie, the moment where the movie just jumps to another level. That's when Patrick Swayze literally jumps through the window of his place, off the roof, and flips over the car like a superhero all at once to take off.
In some sweet sweatpants.
And from that moment on, this movie is in top gear. Which you didn't even know there was another gear to get to.
Right.
Jeff Healey is glad he's never seen the movie.
Oh, my God.
So then he's out there, and you've got the guy on the motorcycle who's doing the maniacal laugh, just the cliche, and then Patrick Swayze outruns the motorcycle.
Well, Jimmy wasn't in a big hurry to get out of there. You can see he was driving like 5 miles an hour on that dirt bike.
My God, it was amazing. Did you notice too? So during this whole scene, and I'd have to hear it again, but I swore it was the exact same score from Die Hard. It sounded exactly like Die Hard, which was not fitting for this movie. It was not a fitting score for these scenes in this movie, but it's like they ripped it straight out of Die Hard.
Interesting.
Listen, watch it again, and you might notice.
Oh
my God.
So, and then, I mean, you've already mentioned like the you can pull out guys' throats. Mm-hmm. That's in this part. Oh, if it's not deranged enough, now he catches a knife flying through the air and throws it back. That was another amazing move.
What move is this?
Somebody throws a knife at him, and he catches it in midair. And he throws it back. I'd have to see it again to remember all the details.
No, you're thinking, are you talking in the house in the last scene where he's killing all the guys?
Yeah, it's right at the end.
Yeah, no, the guy had the knife, and he lunges at him, and Dalton kicks his arm, and the knife goes up in the air.
Yes, and he caught it, though.
And when it comes down, he catches it. Somebody didn't throw it at him.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
And then he stabs the guy, and then another guy comes out, shoots at him, and then he takes a knife and throws it and kills that guy.
Point take.
Now it makes more sense. That's realistic.
Flying through the air. I forgot it was, but still.
Now it's feasible.
That's nuts. And then it ends with the guy taking 4 shotguns, a polar bear falling on a guy, and I mean, what else could you possibly throw in?
And don't forget the last scene. Where Kelly Lynch is, they're skinny dipping, and Patrick Swayze runs and like dives in the water. Did you notice that they had Jeff Healey sitting over on the side in a chair? Yeah, we'll bring him. He can't see anything anyway. Doesn't matter if he's got clothes on. He can't see us. Who cares? We'll just park him by the shore, and he can soak up some sun. And
I did not see that, but that sounds quite fitting and wonderful for an ending.
Oh, it's so good.
couple of other just fun facts that I had about this movie. Did you know the guy that played Red Webster, the guy that owned the store that got blown up? He was a close friend of Elvis Presley. They were high school friends, and they actually played in like a band together in high school, and they still were friends like all the way through until Elvis died.
Really?
He worked as a bodyguard for him for a short time. So that was amazing. Dalton was named after the town of Dalton, Georgia. The director, that would be Rowdy, he had once stopped at a bar there that was the inspiration for this film in the city of Dalton, Georgia.
So does that mean Rowdy also wrote the movie?
I guess maybe it wasn't. Yeah,
maybe he just had say in naming characters.
Yeah, so he came up with the concept. I don't know if Rowdy had the wherewithal to write a script like this, but
they could have named the movie Rowdy.
They could have.
Right? Would have been
Rowdy House.
Fitting. Rowdy House.
Bill Murray, anytime that he's watching this movie, he's good friends with Kelly Lynch.
Did read this, yeah.
Oh my God, I don't know this. This sounds amazing.
He every time it comes on or he's watching it, he will call Kelly Lynch's husband and say that that she's cheating on him.
That's funny.
I did read that one.
Much like Swayze did on the Dirty Dancing album, he actually has his own song on this soundtrack as well, called Cliff's Edge.
Oh, really?
Oh, what part of the movie is that in? Or is that one that it
could be the one that's just on a soundtrack?
Okay.
Yeah. How come we didn't have this one on our top 5 soundtracks?
He switched one of Jeff Healey's songs out for that one because he couldn't see it anyway.
So that's another point about Jeff Healey. Is it odd that his biggest hit was Angel Eyes? Being that, come on. No, I don't get anything for that. Pete, add the laughter in post-production.
I will get that laugh track in for that one. That'll be great. What NFL player is known by the nickname Roadhouse? Trivia question. It'll make sense when you hear it.
Is he from that time period?
No, he's a current NFL player that recently switched teams.
It'll make sense when you hear it. Has he ever pulled a guy's throat out during a game?
Oh,
not yet. Not yet.
I have no idea. Ndamukong Suh.
It's Andy Dalton.
That makes perfect sense.
So his teammates.
And he's from Texas too. He fits that. He got the whole fitting part to that there.
Yeah. So, and they did. I think I found it was the first ever, but they did make one of Mystery Science Theater 3000 of this one.
That'd be a good one.
That would be excellent.
I'd love to watch this one because it's one of the robots. It's like his favorite movie of all time, and they get it, and it's like a great. So, anyway, that's all the fun facts that I had.
Those were a lot of fun.
That was great fun. Here's a fun fact.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought this was just too good to be true. So when this movie ended, I watched it on Amazon. And then like a new movie gets queued up like to try to get you to buy or watch right away. So try to think of another 80s movie from just like a year before that was just kind of crazy. Not an action movie, but just kind of an 80s excess, stupid movie. I just want to see if you could possibly guess it because it wouldn't shock me.
Is it an action film?
No, I said it's not an action movie.
Cocktail.
What'd you say, GIF?
Cocktail.
You got it!
I think I watched this and then I watched Cocktail after it.
I thought Cocktail up next. Oh my God. They've nailed the theme of this day here.
Amazon gets me. I swear to you, I started watching Cocktail right after Roadhouse.
I did not watch it.
I'm such a sucker.
It was funny that they tried to get me.
Love Cocktail.
Well done.
I prefer the Ben Stiller scene where he's faking being Tom Cruise and flipping the bottles all over the place.
How does Tom Cruise? Yeah.
Oh, God.
So, Gifford, did you have some comments or questions that you had received?
I kind of incorporated.
Have we hit on all your things?
Oh, you did. You did incorporate them. Okay.
I feel like I incorporated.
Incorporated them.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have anything else you want to add about the movie, or should we get into? I mean, this was an amazing year for movies, so I got a list here.
Well, and I would say we should, go into the top movies of the year, and this was the reason that I wanted to do this year, because the movies are just so amazing.
And yet you picked Roadhouse.
Yes, because it is so amazing.
No, I wouldn't know. I thoroughly enjoyed. I enjoyed watching it, and I had a huge man crush on Sam Elliott after this one.
Well, when he first came on, like he's so young looking, different that I'm like, wow, he looks different, yes. and he added a real class to the movie by being in it.
He did.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed
him. Comes with that kind of swagger.
So
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, and I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but I have a top 5, but I have just a list of movies, and I just wanted to say, so we had mentioned before, we bought our convenience store in 1990 in March, and I was in charge of like picking out all the movie magazines, and so all the movies come out on a VHS when we first bought our store were from this year, and I can still just picture. You mentioned Tango and Cash.
Mm-hmm.
I can picture that movie in that magazine, and I saw it a million times on our shelf. And there are so many movies that either I loved or that I just totally associate with that time. Even if I never saw the movie, I can picture the box art, and it was just such a great time and such a great job that I know my mom maybe regrets that we ever bought that store, but for me, it was like the greatest thing that ever happened. Because as I said in the previous episode, I didn't have to move. I had a great job, and then we had these movies, and it was just such a cool thing to be able to do.
And the job would have been great if it wasn't for the customers.
What'd you say, right? Pete?
I said the job would have been great if it wasn't for the customers.
Oh yeah, right. Just like Clerks.
Mm-hmm.
So can I just list off all the movies that I remember from that year?
Go for it.
Sure.
Okay. So here's the ones that I never saw, but like I could totally picture them in those magazines, and I bet you've seen some of them. There's a movie called Loverboy with Patrick Dempsey. The Abyss, never saw it, but it's in there. Sex, Lies, and Videotape. That was a big movie. Never saw it, but I mean, It was so intriguing because of the title. There was a movie called The Bear, and I totally remember that movie just because of that. There was a movie with Ted Danson called Dad.
I saw that.
I think Jack Lemmon was in it too. He was like his dad, and it was like a
aptly named.
That's a really good movie, and I remember it very well. It's a very emotional movie. It's one of the few movies that makes me cry.
Well, yeah, I know it was supposed to be like, and it wasn't like a comedy, or it was. If it was a comedy, it was the kind that like it's much lighter and just. But
there were funny parts in it, and
right.
It was like but it was a very emotional movie.
Immediate Family, which was kind of like some kind of updated version of like Ordinary People from the early '80s, and then Tango and Cash, which I never watched. All right, then here's a list of movies that I remember from that year, and I've seen every one of these. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure came out that year. Fletch Lives. Heathers, which we're going to talk about next week. The Dream Team. That's a totally forgotten classic comedy. Michael Keaton.
That's a great movie. Michael Keaton, Peter Boyle.
Yep, Peter Boyle. That's a great movie, and it's one that I saw probably 5 times but I totally forgot about it, and I should watch it someday. Say Anything came out that year. There was a movie called She's Out of Control with Tony Danza.
Yep.
And the girl was Mickey Dolenz' daughter from the Monkees, and I thought she was like the hottest. Like she was the what was her name again? Kelly Lynch. She's the one that actually I did like. It was a terrible, terrible movie though. Another great forgotten comedy, maybe not great, but Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor.
Yes. See No Evil, Hear No Evil. I love that movie.
Yes.
Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Dead Poet Society. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Weekend at Bernie's. Lethal Weapon 2. Then you had the battling dog movies, K-9 and Turner and Hooch.
Yep.
Parenthood from '89.
Both of those dog movies, by the way, are very good.
You're nodding. You know all these movies. They're great.
So here's another. Pete, you didn't cry at the end of Turner and Hooch?
I did not. I don't recall crying at the end of that movie.
Oh, the dog.
Here's
dies.
Another.
Spoiler alert.
Like action suspense movie that is totally forgotten, but that I loved. Al Pacino and Ellen Barkin. It was called Sea of Love. Do you know that movie?
Yep.
It's a great movie. At least that's how I remember it. Black Rain with Michael Douglas. Mm-hmm. The Fabulous Baker Boys. Look Who's Talking. Gross Anatomy. Steel Magnolias. Back to the Future 2. She-Devil with Meryl Streep and Roseanne Barr.
Right. I don't think I've ever saw it, but
The War of the Roses. That was a big one.
Yep.
Driving Miss Daisy won Best Picture. Then we get some good Glory, which is just a fantastic movie.
Right.
Born on the 4th of July. These are all award-nominated movies.
The best people are born on the 4th of July, by the way.
Yes. Always, which is a classic Steven Spielberg movie that you don't even remember he made with Richard Dreyfuss and Holly Hunter. Yep. Awesome.
John Goodman.
John Goodman. Do the Right Thing and The Little Mermaid. Yeah. None of those are on my top 5. But holy crap.
Wow. Right.
And I bet you guys have other ones that I didn't even name.
You hit a lot of them.
Take it away. Make it away, toys.
Did you say Field of Dreams?
Oh, well, that I didn't give my top 5
yet. He didn't give his top 5 yet.
Sorry. I thought.
Why don't you
well, when you said make it away, toys, or take it away, boys.
I didn't know if you wanted to name any other movies first, or you guys can do your top 5s first. Whatever.
All right. No. Why don't you, Brad, go ahead and do your top 5 since you already did your list, and then we'll just go into ours.
So my top 5, I could put these in any order. I have them listed 5 to 1, but it didn't matter. So 1 was Batman, which we did last week. Field of Dreams. Thanks, Pete, for stealing my thunder.
Sorry.
But I love, and then not only Field of Dreams, but Major League, 2 baseball movies. Very different baseball movies, but equally wonderful. And then these are 2 of like my all-time favorites. When Harry Met Sally, greatest romantic comedy of all time, one of the funniest movies, and Christmas Vacation.
Oh, beauty.
So I could put those 5 in any order. Every one of those movies is just rewatchable over and over again, and depending on the time of year or whatever, they're amazing.
Right.
All right. Bake it away, toys.
All right. Now I'm going to go. Most of these you've already said. Field of Dreams, Batman, Christmas Vacation, Major League, When Harry Met Sally, and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. One that I had that I didn't hear that you mentioned, but is sort of a hidden gem. I remember I really loved it. I don't know, it's one of those, if I watch it again, I'd probably think it's dumb. But do you remember the movie Who's Harry Crumb?
I do. That was a funny movie. I liked it.
That was hilarious. And so that was one that I had watched.
John Candy.
Yes, and it was great. I just remember when he's like an undercover detective, and he has to be a jockey at a horse race.
Yeah.
He's trying to fit into the phone booth.
I'm surprised I missed that one with that list I made. That was a really funny movie that I liked.
Oh, God.
And that's pretty much my list. Gifford?
Right, this was your big year gift. So what are the definitive 5?
So this was very hard to do. I have a top 14, but I won't go through all of them because you mentioned a lot of them. Although you didn't mention my number 8, Kickboxer, Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Okay.
Phenomenal movie. So Roadhouse is not in my top 5. Neither is Batman. But my top 5, neither of you mentioned my number 5. Harlem Nights came out in 1989.
Oh, yeah.
With
I didn't
Eddie
really
Murphy,
like it that much.
Richard Pryor. I just rewatched it maybe 3 weeks ago or so. I absolutely love that movie. So
I remember
funny.
Because I loved Coming to America so much. I was really excited for that movie, and I just thought it was a letdown, and it just wasn't that good. Speaking of that, side note,
yeah.
You've seen the new Coming to America, right?
Yes, I did watch it.
I forget. Did you like it?
I thought it was worthwhile. I didn't think it was great.
I was very pleased with it. I actually thought it was pretty funny, and I loved how they worked all the old stuff into it, but made a new movie. And I've heard some bad reviews, but I utterly enjoyed it. I'd watch it again too.
Well, and when I texted you, any movie that includes the songs "Get Off" and the Humpty Dance can't be all bad.
The Humpty Dance, that's your song.
That's my jam. My number 4, Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade. Number 3, Uncle Buck.
Oh, we didn't say that yet either.
Oh, I thought you said Uncle Buck.
No, I think I've only seen it once, and that's one I never got into. I probably should watch it again someday, but it's not a John Candy movie that I care about.
Are you dead inside? I don't understand.
I know. I've heard all those, but for some reason it didn't hit me, and I just never really saw it again.
Oh, so good. There's a wonderful scene with. I'm
a Who's Harry Crumb type kind of guy.
Oh, so. Sure. But there's a wonderful scene, I believe, with Bust a Move.
Oh, that's good.
In that. Number 2, Major League. And number 1, Christmas Vacation. It was great then. It's still great now. So that was my. That was all
the others in your top 14 we have all named. Did you want to say what they were? Just
I had
ones you really liked?
14 through 6. I had Dead Poet Society, Back to the Future Part 2. Let me see. Where's number 12? That must have been. Oh, The Abyss.
Sorry, I asked.
Batman, Weekend at Bernie's, When Harry Met Sally, Kickboxer, Roadhouse, and Lethal Weapon 2.
Okay,
my number 6.
Just curious because I know you.
Oh, Lethal Weapon 2 was a fun movie. That was
great.
So for me, I never saw Lethal Weapon. I don't even know if I have yet, but my first Lethal Weapon movie was Lethal Weapon 2 because we got it on video and I watched that and I liked it a lot. And then also my first, and I don't know why, but the first Indiana Jones movie I ever saw was The Last Crusade. I missed the first 2 for some reason.
I think it's the best one.
The best of
and I really enjoyed it, yeah. And I've heard both you guys have said, so I'll just stick with that.
I love Connery in that movie.
I know what my pick's going to be for 1987. Then you're going to have to sit through Lethal Weapon.
Well, I'd probably like to watch that movie. I'm not saying.
It's
I'm
good.
just saying I saw the second one first.
Sure.
And I saw all the sequels. I saw 2, 3, and 4. I liked them all. They were all very entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Good.
All right.
Does that wrap it up?
I'm done.
I think that'll do it.
Okay, I think we will wrap the show. What an awesome episode this was.
Thanks,
I really hope that we've inspired any of our listeners to go and watch Roadhouse right now. That was just mind-blowing. I don't know what to say about it. I'm still shaking. So
having watched it for the first time, yeah, I agree.
We will close out the episode for now and tune in next week when we will be talking about the movie Heathers, also from 1989. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
I'm scared, but there's nothing I can do.